Welcome to another episode of the EventBuzz podcast by Purplepass. Before we get started, I realize that I've never really properly introduced myself. So for all the listeners that have been following along with the podcast or are just joining now, my name is Savannah McIntosh. I am the marketing director for Purplepass Ticketing, an all-in-one event management platform. I originally decided to start this podcast in direct response to COVID and all the questions I was receiving from our current promoters and clients when we kind of got shut down. They wanted to know how to transition to virtual events, how to do online fundraisers, all this different stuff that I can help them with. But I realized a better solution would be to connect them with other event planners and professionals out there kind of going through the same thing or who have already made the mistakes and have the experience and have learned from it that can share their journey during this time so that other promoters that were originally reaching out to me can listen and learn from them, learn from their mistakes, and hopefully avoid them in the future. As we keep making episodes and growing and we're moving out of the pandemic and slowly starting to open events, I've been starting to talk to other professionals about things beyond the virtual online world. All these different topics that always seem to come up in my day-to-day and questions that I receive. I'm taking them to the podcast and looking for specific experts that can answer them for our listeners. So that was just a little bit about me and the podcast. So let's get started. On today's episode, we are talking with Excite Fundraising, who is actually a partner with us for their digital ticketing. Excite Fundraising is a full-service fundraising company that specializes in promoting athletic departments and getting the most out of your fundraisers. Excite was founded in 2016 and currently works with schools and sponsors in over 30 states. On today's episode, we are talking with Ryan Hughes, president of Excite, all about sports marketing and a look into running successful fundraisers. Plus, we're talking a little bit about their journey during COVID and what the future looks like for sports. Ryan, thanks for coming on the show today. I am really glad we're in the same time zone because it's been difficult talking to a lot of different people because everyone's in their own different area. So This has been nice.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah. Okay. So just to jump into the episode, why don't we just start by introducing who you are and tell the listeners about Excite Fundraising?
Sure. Well, I'm Ryan Hughes, and I'm the president and general manager of Excite Fundraising. We're based in Bentonville, Arkansas, and we are a fundraising and sports marketing company that works with mainly high school athletic programs, but we do have some collegiate sports properties, helping them with marketing and fundraising, basically things from raising money, selling products that we provide, all the way to sourcing an ad on a stadium sign or a scoreboard and any other kind of capital campaigns. So we handle a wide variety of things, both in the sports marketing world and in the fundraising world.
Okay, so it's called Excite Fundraising. I was just curious why you guys also decided to offer the marketing side as well. Do you think that fundraising and marketing kind of go hand in hand?
They do. And what we found, so I founded and sold a sports marketing company in 2009. I founded it in 2007, sold it in 2009. And so I had a lot of experience with the fundraising world and in the sports marketing world. And when I had a long non-compete, and once that was over and we founded Excite, our board the first year really wanted us to focus on just fundraising in general, helping teams sell our products to raise money for uniforms and things like that. And then what we realized is that at any given time on a high school campus, there's a lot of fundraising going on, but there's also some things that are going on kind of behind the scenes in preparation of live events, like, the football game that Friday night. You don't flip the lights on anymore for nothing. Like when I was playing high school football years ago, now it's a pretty big business. And we decided that we would incorporate and kind of become an all-inclusive company that could allow an athletic director, instead of working with like so many vendors, across 4 main product lines that we figured out, that he or she could work with just one company, and we can help them, across those different platforms. So that's why we got more into the sports marketing side, because we just saw a huge need for it.
Like a one-stop shop, basically, for your athletic departments.
And that's absolutely what it is. From, helping them with their digital ticketing or their paper ticketing, to helping them with, selling their signage. When we talk to most athletic directors, they're like, I'm an athletic administrator first and foremost. I'm not a salesperson. I'm not a promoter. And so a lot of them just kind of either shy away from that, or they hire someone to do it like us, where we can go in and source, that stadium signage for them, and, make a commission on it, or depending on what our rev share agreement is. And they don't even have to lift a finger, and they know that, they've got a professional group that's going to go into their merchants in their area and represent them professionally, and be able to, we're really like an ad agency for the high school athletic director. So
yeah, and you're right. Especially football, it's a business, and it's crazy because I am originally from California, so moving to the South, it's a whole new world. Like, you don't really realize it till you come here, and it's really cool.
It is. It's, we love our football in the South, and, obviously the Southeastern Conference is huge and very successful, generates hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars every year, maybe even more. And, it is true. I mean, the town shuts down on a Friday night when they put those lights on. And so there's a lot of things that revolve around that. And we've just kind of inserted ourselves to where we can offer lots of different products on, for any given school that we represent and partner with, to help them really streamline communications. And there's not as many vendors they're working with. So, communication's better, and it's just really worked out well for us.
Yeah. It's exciting to see, for sure. So I wanted to ask, obviously with COVID, everyone's been affected. And that's specifically, when you think about it, events in schools. It's been hard. So I wanted to kind of see what your guys' past year has been like.
Well, yes, absolutely. COVID has affected so much. It's forever changed a lot of things. I think they won't go back to the way they were pre-COVID. But, for us, it was devastating. We were lucky to have had a record first quarter in 2020. And we didn't even complete the quarter. We went into kind of the shutdown, staying at home order type stuff, early on, really in April. But really, everything shut down, about this time, or maybe a week after this, about the 20th of March. And so, we saw an immediate effect. We initially worked from home. And after a few weeks, I realized that this is not going to get better. This is going to get worse. And we had to make some tough decisions, personally, financially, for the business. And so we laid a few people off, and just basically hunkered down, for lack of a better term, for a while. Our revenues, like I said, we had a record first quarter, and that was great because it allowed us to have cash flow through the pandemic. And then we eventually got back to hiring people back, and states started opening up, and being from the South, some of the southern states opened sooner than a lot of the other states that still aren't even open. And so luckily, the bulk of our business was in Arkansas and Oklahoma and Mississippi and Texas, and those states opened up early. And so, we got schools back reopened, and then we started playing athletics again, which I think was huge. And then, if it wasn't for things like digital ticketing that we had gotten into and partnering with Purplepass, we wouldn't have been able to offer solutions to some of our schools to safely reopen and have sporting events with fans. And so that's been, we're still not out of that yet. I mean, it's been limited capacity. And so, actually today, New Mexico votes on that. They've reopened and are going to have they're going to play every sport. They've extended the sports through June, but they're going to play somewhat of a limited amount of games. And then they're going to be, they're voting today on actually having indoor events. So with that being said, we got the double whammy with fundraising. If teams aren't there and raising money, then, obviously our revenue is hurting. And so when they're not at school or they're not playing games and they're not, a lot of athletic directors made the decision, we're not going to fundraise this year because of COVID. We're not going to ask our merchants to do anything because they're all hurting. And so the other part of it is, they're not playing, the full game. So they're not using as many digital tickets, and that affects our revenue. And so, it was kind of a double whammy, but we're out of it. And a lot of the states we work in are almost fully opened, and, revenue's starting to really increase again. So it's a good thing.
Good. I'm glad. Yeah. I was thinking about that. That must have really hurt you guys. I mean, everyone was hurting. Your story sounds like everyone's, like that was ours too, because we're events.
Sure.
Definitely a tough year. But I'm glad that, everything's slowly starting to roll out, and it's better than nothing. Looking at like now and moving forward, do you think what do you think the future of sports will look like? Do you think it's going to be like this for a while? Or do you think we are really ever going to be able to go back to what it was before? Or it's always going to be kind of thinking about how we can make it a safe sporting event?
Yeah, I think the future looks digital. I think we had done some R&D in digital ticketing early on, like before the pandemic. We were kind of knee deep in that. And then the pandemic hit, and I realized, okay, we have to offer digital ticketing now versus later. The time horizon for us wasn't that soon, but COVID forced our hand. And that's how our partnership came about with Purplepass. I started cold calling CEOs of these digital ticketing companies because I thought, at this point, they're probably in a spot where the concerts and the festivals are all canceled. What can we do as a company to partner with someone that already has a strong, platform, robust engine that can handle a whole bunch of high schools on Friday night across the country using their digital ticketing platform? And that's how we ran into Purplepass. Talking to Gabriel and seeing what they offered, and you guys have kind of like figured it out. It's been 12 years that you guys have been doing this and offering this service. And we initially, he got it, where I was coming from, and I got where you guys were, in your business with COVID, and we were able to quickly introduce it to any of our clients, any of our partner schools that wanted it. And we had some huge school districts that immediately adopted it and absolutely love it. Some of those districts just did it for football season and said, we'll look at winter sports. And then they came around and they said, hey, it works so well during football season. We want to use it for winter sports, for basketball. And then a lot of them are rolling it out, obviously, in spring sports right now. And we've been meeting with a lot of our partners, and they're saying, hey, we're going 100% digital. We still have the hybrids, I call them, out there that are like, look, we got fans that maybe don't have a cell phone, don't want to go get an app or buy a ticket digitally, don't have a credit card or whatever. And they're few and far between, though. I think COVID, my advice to every athletic director that I talked to during COVID, and I talked to them more than I ever have because of COVID and the uncertainty out there. And my phone rang off the hook every day during COVID when the country was really shut down. What's going to happen? What's the future going to look like? And we said, let us be a partner. We've got a great solution with Purplepass and their touchless, cashless solution to where you can just have one person scanning tickets, not handling money, and you can open up safely and have sports. And that's what happened. Some of the governors in some states said, you're going to have at least somewhat of a solution for digital ticketing. And so a lot of, back on the future, I just think that it was a paradigm shift for a lot of people in their minds. And they said, I wanted to do digital, but this forced me into I'm going to have to do digital because it's the wave of the future. So that's really what we've seen and what I think the future looks like.
Yeah, it's crazy because like you said, we were doing concerts, festivals, and all the normal events. And then when the pandemic hit, and then it's like a few months go by, and then it just took like a complete 180 and we're like, okay, we're doing schools now. Cause it was mostly schools after that. Cause everyone was
Yeah,
online registration. We had to learn fast. We're like, okay, this is what they need. So it's interesting, but yeah, I think the partnership's awesome because you guys now are fundraising, marketing, and you have, the digital ticketing resources to help them out. So it really kind of completes your guys's portfolio.
absolutely. It's been a great thing, a great partnership. But the thing that we really like is it's been so turnkey for us that if an athletic director calls me or anybody in our office and says, "Hey, I'm wanting to look at digital ticketing," we can have an account up that day. They could be scanning tickets as soon as as the next day on their phone while they're waiting on their scanners to get there. So it's been really, I mean, turnkey is it's been great for us.
Awesome. I'm so happy. I'm so happy it's working out and yeah, that we're moving forward and kind of seeing it pick up. Okay. And I did want to ask to kind of switch up the conversation a little bit. A lot of schools that have been using us are also using us for online campaigns, fundraising for like the departments, like selling t-shirts and different things online because obviously they can't do that in person right now. So I just wanted to pick your brain and ask, like, what are some fundraising strategies you've found to kind of be effective, or maybe some advice when it comes to raising money in an online world? Because I know a lot of schools doing this now are really, really new to it.
Sure. It's a struggle. It has been for us and for our partner schools to a certain extent. There's some products that just naturally sell better digitally, online. We are 100% online with all of our fundraisers. So you can go and any school at any time can set up a fundraiser with us and we can set it up and they can send out the URL. They can put it on social media and say, hey, go buy our tumblers. We're trying to sell these tumblers to raise money to go to cheer camp or to fund new uniforms or whatever their needs are. And the problem with again the whole paradigm shift, with the problem with digital to a certain demographic is it's a lot easier for a student to approach, let's say a neighbor or something with a actual printed out sheet that shows all the products they're selling. And on the back of it is an order form. And they take a check or cash and they fill out. And then once the product comes in, they go deliver it. Right. Mm-hmm. Well, when you're telling someone you've got to log in and, check out with a credit card, and then, it's not going to be delivered to you. It's going to be delivered to the school and you've got to come pick it up or I'll bring it to you. Not that that's not what I think that's where we're going with most everything. But I have to be, honest and say that we had, it's been a little bit tough to get people in that mindset of, this is safer than handling cash. This is everything's moving towards an online experience. And so the advice we're given is just do it. Just go head first into it, because next year people are going to go, okay, I did it. It wasn't that bad at all. That's the way things are going. And that's kind of the way of the future. And so it has affected, we've seen our apparel sales drop off a little bit, but we also think that that's because there's not as many people going to games. So maybe they're not buying the gear this year. And, there's a lot of reasons, but one of the things that we've been able to do, and we've been proud to do that, is to get everything online. And so, in the past, we would have blitz days where we called them a blitz day, where we would have, every athlete would come together on a Thursday evening and they would just, hundreds of athletes would go out into the community and they would sell, discount cards, and it usually was discount cards or coupon booklets or something like that, and come back and we would do prizes and drawings and all this stuff. Well, that COVID changed that. You couldn't bring that many people together and you couldn't send kids out into the community anymore. And so we just said, look, that'll probably come back. But for now, if you could do it online and not have to pull all those kids together and do those things and people get used to it, why not get them used to a digital fundraiser right now? So that's kind of where we're at with that.
To be honest, this is how we're moving. It's more digital, but it does make me kind of sad because I just think I remember the days when I was fundraising and I did different things. Like you said, the coupon books, we sold like, cookie dough, Easter egg. We sold the chocolate bars, like all that stuff. It's a different connection. And I get it. Like, I understand like how you're saying, like, it's just easier to go to their door, have them fill out that one form, and then you're done. And they can kind of see your face. It makes them want to donate or want to contribute to support you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it just makes me sad because it was on like the news, I think last week, but they're talking about like Girl Scouts and how they're teaching them to do it online. And I'm just like, oh, I don't know. Like they're so young. It just hurts my heart. So
Me too.
I think the best would be to do it hybrid where they have the option to go online for those people you can't reach or distant family members that want to contribute. That's great. But then people are still going out and putting in that face-to-face time because that's really important. And yeah, I think about that all the time, like especially the Girl Scouts, because they're just so young. They're so young. And it's crazy that you're already teaching them to do it online and I don't know.
Yeah, you miss that personal touch, and
Yeah.
I'm the same way. My three daughters, I mean, I've got one in college, but my youngest one, I mean, she needs to get off of TikTok and go sell some Girl Scout cookies to someone and make change, and learn that personal interaction. I don't think we're going to be completely in a digital world anytime soon, but yeah, the main thing, our advice in any fundraising environment, and what we've seen the most success in is really educating the players, the students that are selling, what they're selling for. They're not just selling we're just raising money. People want to know, what are you doing with it? Well, we're going to a camp we really need to go to. We had a pretty decent success at a smaller school the year before last on a discount card campaign. And, it was a small school in Oklahoma, and they run the Wishbone offense, and University of the Naval Academy, Army runs that at the collegiate level, and they were raising money to send the entire coaching staff to spend time with the coaching staff over the summer at at West Point. Sorry, and I mean, I thought that was so cool that the kids really weren't benefiting from it, directly, maybe with new uniforms or travel to somewhere, or new equipment, but they were indirectly going to benefit from it because their coaches were going to have a better understanding of how that offense runs. And they had a really good campaign, and $20,000. And but everybody, they were so excited about it because they knew what they were fundraising for. And so I guess the shorter answer would be, know what you're fundraising for, and be excited about it. Get the kids, get the students fired up about it, so that the people that are going to buy from you can really feel like they're a part of something.
Yeah, that's good advice. I agree. And I would also add, if you're fundraising online and you're excited about it, put a face to it. Like if you can add a video, if you could show, anything to show where this is going, people will
absolutely
connect.
Now, everybody's got a camera in their pocket, pull it out, do a selfie type video with your, all the students behind you, and talk about what it's going for. That way, when they're doing it online, grandma can click on that and say, oh, this is so cool what they're doing,
Yeah.
That's great advice.
Thank you. That's good advice. But yeah, I hope we transition slowly back to in-person stuff again, because technology is so convenient. I get it, but I don't know. Sometimes it's better to take the extra time and the extra steps to have that human interaction, because we need that. So important. Definitely. And then I think to wrap this up, I did just one last thing. I was just thinking about events opening up now, athletic directors trying to see how they can open up their events. What are the different protocols would you say? I know it's digital ticketing for sure to make sure that's touchless, but are there any other like protocols you would suggest kind of looking into or following to open up those events or sports?
Yeah, it's been so different from school district to school district, because our stadium is set up this way. And to get the concessions, we're doing this. Well, we're not having concessions. Well, we are having concessions. And it has just been the uncertainty and the chaos has been unbelievable. And really, it's been so our entire, value proposition to our partner schools is how can we cross-pollinate ideas? This school over here is doing this and it's working really well. You can have a similar setup. Have you ever thought about doing it that way? You know what? We've never thought about that. Let's look at that. During COVID, it was hard to cross-pollinate ideas because everybody's so different and some had some restrictions that others didn't. And it just became like, hey, they're doing this, or we can't do that. We can only have one coach to every two players and, to practice and things like that. Or we can't go indoors. So we have to social distance here in the gym versus a different way over here. And so one of the things that we thought was really important, really just to educate, but really more from the liability standpoint is, and something that Purplepass offers through their digital ticketing is having that kind of the terms and conditions of buying that ticket so that a person that buys a ticket can read through and say, I agree to these. I agree to social distance. I agree to not take my mask off. I agree not to congregate in common areas. Before it was, can't bring an umbrella into the stadium, things like that. Now these are really important things because, we wanted to be able to continue to play. And if we didn't follow the protocols, we weren't going to continue to play. And so we wanted to really educate people and said, look, you clicked on the terms and conditions and agreed to wear a mask to be here. That's what it's going to take for us to be safe and to be open. And so, just that education of that and to make sure that it was easily enforced by the athletic directors and their staff to be able to go down and say, look, we can't, there's 10 of you standing here. 2 of you have your mask down. You're going to have to separate so that we can continue to do this because we have people here from the state, the health department, they're watching and the governor's going to shut us off if we keep this up. And early on, it was really tough. There was a lot of frustration with the athletic directors that people just weren't complying. And I think people eventually got the message that if they don't comply, we're not going to get to play the games. And, for me and for anybody with kids in athletics, it hurts not to be able to see them. Their senior year, the last time you're ever going to be able to watch them. So you want to ensure that people, were able to do that. And so, I don't think that there's ever going to be a way to have a completely safe sporting event. I mean, there's going to be viruses, and we've had viruses for centuries. There's going to continue to be, but I think COVID has taught us some things that we can do ongoing that are going to, prevent, any other viruses, not prevent them, but, slow the spread of them, because anytime you gather a bunch of people during flu season, anytime things are going to spread, but there's a lot of things with the hand washing, the mask wearing is not going to continue on. A lot of governors have already dropped the mandates. So, I think this has been good for people to understand that, to safely get back to where we want to be or where we were before in some sense of normalcy is that there's all these protocols they've got to follow.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point because like I said, my family's in California. I'm in Texas, 2 complete different worlds right now. So 2
Absolutely.
complete different, like opposite as they can get. Protocols are wildly different. So yeah, it's crazy. I guess just know what works in your area and let people know before they go to that event so they aren't surprised. And I hope people don't get mad. I hope people are able just to respect the rules that you put in place so we can keep events going and have them open more and more. So,
yeah, everybody wants to get back to that normal that we had before. I think it's going to take a little bit of time to get back fully normal, but we've seen the effects of it even on advertisers, even strong partners of ours that are seeing some states where they see a good, return on investment, not opening right now even, and even not opening maybe even fully next school year. And so that has affected, sponsorships. It's like, we would love to continue our sponsorship, but they haven't been in school in this state, and there's really not a plan for them to get back. They're going to get back and play, but there's not going to be any fans. Like in New Mexico, there may not be any fans. And if there's no fans, there's no digital ticket need. There's no, sponsorship dollars aren't going to be there. And so it truly is affecting these schools and the money they can raise, because they get, most of the schools we work with are, I would say 99.9% of the schools we work with are zero budget from the school district. They are their own budget, and it's typically generated by their gate receipts and their events, their games and all that. So big track meets and football games and all the things, and tournaments, holiday tournaments. They make good money on things like that. That all went away. And so they've got to get back open, and they just got to go through those protocols so that we can get fully opened again and get these athletic departments funded again.
Yeah. Yeah. My heart also goes out to the students that were, I don't even know, relying on scholarships to get them to college, sports scholarships. Like, I don't know. It's just had a snowball effect on everyone. It just makes me so sad. So
it has. And again, it's going to get better. It's going to get back to normal in a lot of areas. Some will take longer than others, just because of, you've got different opinions on things, and I won't get into politics and all that, but states will get open, and some states will stay, a little bit more limited, but I think eventually we're going to get there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do too. So we just have to keep going. Well, thanks for talking to me. And I think you had great advice for everyone listening, and to all the athletic departments out there that are looking for a partner to help them get through this and get going into the year. They look for Excite fundraising people.
Well, hey, I appreciate that, Savannah.
Yeah.
It's great to talk to you. Appreciate the platform to be able to share some things, and
Yeah.